You know how people say that psychedelics change them, usually for the better, but sometimes for the worse? Well, in this video, I wanted to talk about how psychedelics changed me specifically. So, I had my first trip over 7 years ago, holy shit, and I wouldn't say that this changes happened all right after that first trip. It was very gradual, and each trip kind of built on top of each other over the years, giving me bits and pieces of learnings here and there. Once in a while, those learnings would just all come into place and it would all just click together. So as a result, it is kind of hard to pinpoint what changes of mine are due to psychedelics and what are due to just naturally growing up. I mean, I first took psychedelics when I was 19 and I'm 27 now. So a lot can happen then. But I do feel that psychedelics did have a big influence on who I am today still. I think the biggest thing is that I've become more spiritual. Before psychedelics, I was kind of agnostic, but more subscribed to like organized religion's version of God. Then right when I started psychedelics, my uncle died and I became staunchly atheist after that. Spirituality actually really cringed me out back in the day. Like, it took me a few years to finally confess to myself that I was spiritual and accept it and even be kind of proud of it, I guess. I had taken pride in being atheist because it was logical and scientific, and spirituality seemed like it was for naive people. Like, I looked down on meditation. I preferred Pilates over yoga because Pilates didn't have the woo-woo stuff. Now I meditate, I do yoga. I'm even more open to things like astrology. I'm not into astrology, but I don't deride it like I used to, and I'm more open to the idea. And I've really got into Eastern philosophy these days, things like Buddhism, Taoism, and I feel like there's actually a lot of overlap with that and science, things like physics. So I think psychedelics played a part in this shift because for 19 years of my life, I thought I knew the way the world worked. And then after psychedelics, it totally belly flopped and challenged everything I once knew. And yeah, you can say that the psychedelics is just all in your brain. That's not how the real world is, but isn't our normal waking sober life also just things that the brain perceives it to be? Even sleep is like another state of consciousness, and how can you say that one experience is more valid than another just because you spent more time in that experience? Anyway, it made me think, oh fuck, there's something more going on here. What else am I wrong about? And that in turn made me more open to different ways of thinking that I had dismissed before. And then I found that actually Eastern philosophy was the most satisfactory explanation so far for all this shit. The next way psychedelics changed me, it made me more liberal, left-winged, I guess. What's funny is that I think psychedelics can even make a person more right-winged, like that QAnon shaman guy who stormed the White House. It's like, you know how the left gets accused of being too woke, but the right also has their own flavor of wokeness. But anyway, before psychedelics, I was one of those people who were like, oh, I don't really care about politics. It doesn't really affect me. It doesn't do anything. It's just all drama. And I think one thing psychedelics gave me was more empathy. I remember one trip I was walking around New York at night, and, you know, there's a lot of homeless here, and I just remember feeling their pain and wanting to help in some way. And the second part of this is from the psychedelic community. So I started going to more psychedelic meetups, and the people there are usually pretty left-winged and a lot more radical in thinking than what I was used to. And there I learned that the psychedelic movement really extends past the drugs themselves. So, you know, when people take psychedelics, they're like, oh my god, why is this illegal? Well, the more you go down the rabbit hole and think about it, it's like, well, why are all these drugs illegal? And it's also about how we are destroying the environment and extracting from indigenous people without reciprocity. And then, you know, as psychedelics are going through the FDA process and there's all these psychedelic startups now, it's about how is capitalism really in the best interest for us all? And then it's like, well, okay, you've gotten all these insights from psychedelics. Now, how are you going to apply it to your life? But again, some people take psychedelics and then they actually go the opposite way, and they're like, oh, these earthly matters are so frivolous, we must transcend all this and hold hands and sing in harmony. But yeah, you can argue this life is real or not real. But while I'm here, it's like, what am I going to do about it? Am I just gonna choose to be blind to these things because this is all isn't real? It makes me think of the MLK quote about negative peace being the absence of tension and positive peace being the presence of justice. So one of the big themes, I guess, I get from psychedelics, if I was to choose a word to describe it, is ecology. And ecology, I guess, is just another way of saying that we are all one. This whole thing that's going on, we are individual, but we are also part of an ecosystem. And all these things are so connected to each other that when you start caring about one thing, going deep into that, it's like, oh, well, this actually applies to other things. And there's so many issues out there, and you can get burnt out from it all. But I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this. I'm definitely not perfect at this, but just trying to live more ethically in general. It's like trying to reduce my meat consumption, which I've discussed at length in other videos already. It's about trying to be more sustainable, buying more secondhand, less fast fashion, on top of just, caring about other humans in general. Just way more self-aware of my actions and my consumption. So I think the best way to describe it is that psychedelics gave me that initial spark, that ignition into breaking my preconceived notions of the world, to be more open to other thought, like Eastern philosophy, social justice issues, environmental issues. Then once you start thinking like this, you can apply this framework to other parts of your life, and it just spirals on from there. I think maybe I could have ended up down this path without psychedelics, but I do think psychedelics accelerated me there. But like I said, this change happened over many years, and who knows what I'll be thinking 7 years from now too. So TLDR is that psychedelics totally turned me into a hippie. I will catch you out later. Bye.